गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Today we are going to start the 10th chapter in the Jnaneshwari, and this 10th chapter is titled the Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti Yoga, it is the yoga of divine manifestation, and we saw in the last few classes the overview of chapter 7, 8 and 9 by popular demand. And now we enter into the 10th chapter. To understand what 10th chapter is all about, Vibhuti means the manifestation. It is we understand, the self, we understand the Lord, we understand surrender, we understand that we have to become one with the Lord. But what does it mean that once you have merged into the Lord, what will be your vision like? What will be your vision like? What will be your disposition? Because the body still continues after merging. You don't stop till the body doesn't die. The mind will continue to function, but what is its take on everything in the world? And that take is given here in this 10th chapter. Now this take, this angle of vision, this disposition will not come about by anything that you can do in this life. It will not come about by study of scriptures. It will not come about by sadhana. It will not come about by charity. It will not come about by austerity. It will not come about by pranayam. It will not. Then how does it come about? It comes about by the grace of the divine. And for that grace, for him to grant you this vision, wherein you are able to see the whole manifestation, which was told in the 9th chapter. The Lord said, the whole world is in me, and I am not in the world, means I am independent of the world. So what could be there beyond the sky? And then he says, if he is the whole creation, where in that chapter he said the whole creation of names and forms has been superimposed upon me. Really, I am as I am. I never become less, I never become more. But you have a sense that there is past, there is present, there is future, there is a movement. But Lord is complete, so there can be no movement inside the divine. So where is this movement? Where is this multiplicity? Where is this variety? Where is this duty? Where is this relationships? Where are these names and forms? Where are they seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking, ideating, convincing? Where is this seeking of the divine? This is all in the Prakriti, and Prakriti is only an imagination on the divine. Just like waves are nothing but a projection on the water. The ornaments are nothing but a projection on the gold. Just like the mother is a projection on the woman. A brother is a projection on the man. Like that. So, if that is so, then what will be the Lord's vision towards his own creation? If he is everything, what will be his vision? Something to contemplate. If you keep thinking about this, you will vanish. And this is what was told in the 9th chapter. Prepare yourself in this manner. And as you start preparing, naturally but how do I recognize you? So now we'll see. That will start how to recognize the divine in the creation. That will begin from the first verse. But till then, let's see what Jnaneshwar Maharaj says. Jnaneshwar Maharaj says here, Jnaneshwari Bhavartha Deepika Adhyay Daha Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Adhyay Dhava Vibhuti Yogaha Namo Vishadbodha Vidagdha Vidyaravinda Vinda Prabodha Paraprameya Pramada Vilasiya Namo Sansarata Masurya Aparimita Paravirya Taruna Taraturya Lalana Lila Namo Jagat Akhila Palana Mangalamani Nidhana Sajjanavana Chandana Aradhya Linga Namo Chatura Chitta Chakora Chandra Atmanubhava Narendra Shruti Sara Samudra Manmata Manmatha Namo Subhava Bhajana Bhajana Bhave Bhakumbha Bhanjana Vishwodbhava Bhavana Shri Guru Raya. From the beginning itself, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is singing the glory of his Guru. Why? Because he does not want to take the ownership of giving the discourse on Bhagavad Gita. So when we say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, we are offering whatever is going to come in the next 1.5 hours, all is at his feet, not anything that we are doing. All is his inspiration. Inspiration cannot come from the mind. Inspiration cannot come from the children. Inspiration cannot come from the world. Inspiration can only come from one place, and that is the essence, that is the source, that is the Lord or the divine, the pure consciousness. That is the infinite source of inspiration. We may attribute the inspiration to a person. Oh, I am inspired by your talk. You are fooling yourself. You are inspired because you were available to yourself. And the means was the speech. You see, when we go to the temple, the means is the statue. And what happens there? We become using that means, the beauty of the statue, the beauty of the music, the beauty of the nature. Suddenly our mind stops and we become available to ourselves. And at that moment, we get inspired. When we go to sleep, we get rejuvenated. Why? Because the world cannot rejuvenate us. So your mind vanishes in sleep and you get rejuvenated. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, O Gurudev, you are an adept at impairing a clear knowledge of Brahman, in making the lotus of learning bloom, and in sporting lovingly with the maiden in the form of the subtlest inarticulate speech. My salutations to you. So even this speech, this articulation, these examples, these the expressions that are coming out of my mouth, all these are because of you. Now where is our Jnaneshwar Maharaj's attention? It is on his Gurudev, but at the same time, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is such an, you can say, he is not an adept, he is a Mahatma, he is a wise person, even at that age. He knows the Guru without is the Guru within. So, in one word, he is addressing to both, the Sadguru within and the Guru without. Without Nivrittinath's Ashirvad, he could not have, because he has considered him to be his teacher. But at the same time, as he has done his sadhana, and somewhere along the line it has clicked. Continuing, he says that, my salutations to you. See, the more we show more than studying the scriptures, more than anything, all the activities that we find ourselves to be busily doing in our life, more important than that is taking some time out and deeply express and let the gratitude fill up your bosom. That, oh Lord, in spite of me being who I am, with all my faults, you have graced me with and made me who I am today. See, You bring the sleep at the right time, you bring the hunger at the right time, you bring the thirst at the right time, you bring the people at the right time, you bring the bhikshas also at the right time. Huh? He has plucked a madman like me and put him into an ashram. And who has never spoken, he is making him speak. So is the disposition of our Jnaneshwar Maharaj also. He has never spoken in his life. He has never given pravachan. 11 years, 12 years old he is. See? And this gratitude that in spite of all the ups and downs in our life that life has thrown at us, yet that divine being, that Lord, has continued to chart our path so that we come closer and closer to Him. Isn't it? And whom will He call? Who can recognize that they are coming closer? Those who are aware, those who are available. In fact, everyone is going towards Him. Majority don't know. Some people know. If you know that you are moving towards it, don't take ownership of it. Show your gratitude. That gratitude must melt us from within. In that melting of our individuality, in the remembrance of that gratitude of that divine being, that divine Lord, our maturity takes place. We come closer to Him in that melting. So that's what our Jnaneshwar Maharaj is doing. And he says, you are the sun who destroys the darkness of ignorance in the form of worldly existence. It is a two-edged sword. As I said, it's the Guru outside, Nivrittinath, and it is the Sadguru within. The Guru principle is the same. Just like the light principle is the same in all the three bulbs. Isn't it? The light principle is the same. The electricity is also the same. So where is our Jnaneshwar Maharaj's attention? On that essence. And here he is saying that you are the sun, you are of that effulgence in front of which ignorance cannot remain. Won't it be nice in our life that we are presented continuously, the world is coming at us, and many times we find ourselves at crossroads, what decision to make, what conclusion to come to, how to interact with that situation, how to talk, how to communicate, so many different ways. And we make many mistakes along the way. But if we have this intrinsic faith that He is guiding us, in spite of all my faults, He will correct me. That means I still have the individuality, that's why it has not cleared. Some remnants are still there. See? So just like sun, in front of sun, the darkness cannot remain. The more we remember the Lord in our heart, the divine being, that the essence that is ours, to that extent, the ignorance cannot corrupt us. What is ignorance? What is ignorance? Everything other than the divine. Everything other than the divine. What does that include? It includes space, air, fire, water, earth. It includes mind, intellect, memory and ego. It includes the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. If these few points are taken care, what else is left? Everything else is a part of that only, isn't it? So everything else other than the reality is unreality. That unreality is ignorance, which is keeping you within its loop. So he is saying, only because of you, this ignorance has can be destroyed. And what is this world ignorance? Here in his words, it is the worldly existence. Why does the worldly existence? Why the worldly existence is ignorance, and it comes under the definition of ignorance. What is ignorance? Definition again, another way of looking at it. What is ignorance?
Other than the
That I just said. There are different ways of putting it. I have used it so many times, Socho. What is ignorance? That which appears to be but it is not. Another way that Jnaneshwar Maharaj told was, it is incomplete knowledge. So what is incomplete knowledge? That we have not come to recognize that the world is essentially divine. This is incomplete knowledge. Incomplete knowledge is always about that which is existing temporarily. What is existing temporarily? Everything in this world is existing temporarily. So finite knowledge, temporary knowledge, incomplete knowledge. And what is complete knowledge? Can incomplete knowledge, that means finite knowledge, can it give you infinite wisdom? Not possible. Simple logic. Infinite knowledge cannot give you infinite wisdom. To get infinite, to gain or to become one with that infinite, you have to think of the infinite. In fact, you begin with thinking and you even give up thinking. You be in the infinite. That is the only way. In words of devotion, you surrender, you merge, you get sucked into. That's the only option left. But why do we keep going after the finite in order to get the infinite? Default.
ignorance.
That is ignorance, right? You are a powerful God who promotes with ease the highest state of the mind in which it becomes one with the Supreme Self. This is the greatness of the student. That merely being in the presence of great masters, men of wisdom, our mind dies. Our mind becomes still. We feel a thrill of being in the presence of divinity. If you have been in the presence of Mahatmas, go to be in the presence of Ammachi, be in the presence of Satya Sai Baba if you have been. See? You be in the presence of samadhis, of great masters. There the energy, their presence is still emanating. Go to Tiruvannamalai. Just now I told you, I think last 2 weeks ago, someone asked me, he comes to the Sanskrit class, he said, Swamiji, I want to go somewhere. Someone has been telling me Tiruvannamalai, what is it about? I said, this is Raman. And he said, should I go? I feel like, I said, go, if you have the money, go. 5 days he went and came back. 5 days he spent there. I told him what all to do there. He said, don't talk to anyone. Eat the food in the ashram, they'll give you for maybe 1 or 2 days. Then you request. Don't talk to anyone. First day go around the mountain, do the parikrama. Then after that, sit at the samadhi or the other 2 caves. Spend your time only, let it overpower you, that silence. And after he has come back, he says, Swamiji, I am now good for nothing. He's a neurosurgeon. Huh? He says, I am good for nothing. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to. I said, how's your wife taking? Oh, she's got used to me. But now I want to be in silence all the time. Before I used to react to situations. If I'm in a party because social commitments, I have to go there. Yesterday I went to a party. He says, but it didn't disturb me. I was silent from within because you just come back from Tiruvannamalai. So it's still the after effect is still there. Huh? So he says, I was in the party, all going crazy, but it didn't matter to me. I didn't even have one thought that I should get away from here. And if people came, I just walked some other way. I didn't feel bad. The thought also didn't come, well, what will they think? Who cares what they will think? I am thinking about I am enjoying the silence in spite of the cacophony that is going on around. Hey, that's beautiful, isn't it? That capacity, that in the din of life, what is that word? Hum and din, or din and hum of life? Humdrum of life. Just like in the humdrum of war, our Dronacharya, when he came to know that his son is dead, he says, I got no more purpose to live. At that very moment, he controlled all his senses, he controlled his mind and went into meditation in the middle of the battlefield. Can we, at a drop of a moment, from one moment to the next, can we become absolutely calm and drop everything? Our ability should be that if we are sitting in meditation, when you come out of meditation, there should be no hangover of meditation afterwards. The word was hangover. There should be no hangover. Then afterwards, I am still very quiet, don't disturb me, don't. And when we are so active, we should not have the hangover of activity. We should be able to drop the activity and get into meditation at a drop of a hat. If we are active and we touch the bed, no hangover. Boom, gone. Touch the bed and you are gone. If that is happening, you know you have the ability. Now practice it in the waking state. Not only waking to sleep. Practice that in the daily living. Drop one topic, catch on to that. Practice. Become the master of your mind. When mind is your master, then you are not able to go from one to the next. You still hang over from the previous one. Why? Mind is still attached to that fellow. Meditation. Mind is still attached to the activity. But if you are the master, acha, drop that, do next. Absolutely, no question. Total clarity. No option allowed for the mind to take. No option. Choiceless, exactly. I bow to you. You are the protector of the whole world, the mine of gems in the form of blissful things, the sandalwood tree in the woods, in the form of good men, a deity worthy of being worshipped by the devotees. My salutations to you. You are the moon who gives delight to the chakora birds in the form of the discerning men, the prince among the realizers of self, the ocean of Vedic knowledge, the destroyer of the god of love. I bow to you. You are worthy of being worshipped with pure devotion as the destroyer of the temples of the elephant in the form of worldly existence and the origin of the world. I bow to you. So who is this Guru? Who is this Guru Maharaj? All this. He is the one who is giving him the Vedas. He is the one who brings wisdom to the world. He is the one who is expressing as the world. He is the one who is all those examples that are given. It is the outpouring of a disciple. It's the outpouring of a devotee. It's the outpouring of a student towards his beloved teacher. I remember one lady was there. Remember you bought me one Samsung phone on eBay once? I said I have to take, a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I said I have to give it to someone in Bombay. So this lady, I don't know, after so many years she contacted me and the only thing she said, Hariom Swamiji, I hope everything is fine. I want a phone from you. And I took it. She says, I just discovered there is something called these not smartphone, but the old type, But you can see everything. She says, I want something like that. Okay, I'll bring. But the beauty of that lady was that she was a devotee of a master and she was a devotee of Hanumanji. And every night she will go to sleep in her hostel. She was in her 40s, and she stays in a woman's hostel. And she has got a room, and in the room she never sleeps on the bed. She sleeps on the floor. But on the bed is for her teacher, who is not other than Hanuman. So her teacher, Guru Maharaj, and Hanumanji, the monkey god, they are one and the same for her. So every morning she will wake up. The moment she wakes up, she will sing, so that the Guru Maharaj, it's an imaginary, there's no person there, but she will sing a song to wake him up, and then she'll give him a glass of water, then she'll put the slippers there so that he walk. She's imagining all this. Then she will prepare hot water, give him. So she then imagines that he is this small statue. Then she will give him bath and everything, all the puja she will do, and then take again and put him on the bed. So whole day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, she does everything. But as a result of doing this for many years, she told me before, when she met me, she said, Swamiji, I get up at night, I don't know, I can't sleep. I said, what do you do? She says, I don't know. One day I felt I had to write, and I never composed anything in my life. And she started composing Sanskrit poetry for the Guru. So now what do you do? She says, now I kept a pen and paper and a pad next to my head on the floor. So in the sleep only, my hand automatically goes and starts writing. I don't even have to get up. And she's composed such beautiful poetry. All because she is vanishing. The individual is vanishing. So if a person can write like that with no background of Sanskrit, then Jnaneshwar Maharaj, when he says that you are the inspiration behind my speech, then why only Jnaneshwar Maharaj? Why not you, me, every one of us, that when we see, hear, touch, feel, taste, think, can we not put our attention on the inspiration because of which the breath is breathing, the eyes are seeing, the ears are hearing, the mind is thinking? Isn't it? See how beautiful. So even though it is the truth for everyone, Jnaneshwar Maharaj has caught it. It has revealed itself to him. तुमचा अनुग्रहो गणेशु जैदे आपुला सौरसु तय सारस्वती प्रवेशु बाळकाही आथी जी दैविकी उदारवाचा जय उद्देशु देनाभिकाराचा तै नवर ससुधाब्धिचा या था वो लाभे जी आपुलिया स्नेहाची वागेश्वरी जरी मुके याते अंगीकारी तो वाचस्पतीशी करी प्रबंधु होडा हे असोदिटी जयावरी झळके की हा पद्म करू माथा पारुखे तो जीवची परितुके महेशेसी एवढे जिये महिमेचे करणे ते वाचा वळे वानुमी कवणे का सूर्याची या अंगा उदणे लागत असे. So he says, when Ganesha in the form of your grace bestows his gift, even a child has access in the sanctuary of literary art. When whom is it addressing to as the child? He is the child. He is only 12 years old. When your noble voice gives the pledge of safety, one can dive into the ambrosial ocean of the 9 literally sentiments, rasas. So in this Jnaneshwari, all the Navarasas are there. In the Tulsi Ramayana, all the Navarasas are there. Just like we have the 7 notes, similarly there are 7 it's not the taste, but these are the, how should you say, the 9 expressions in the creation. So, for example, the Veeraras. Veeras is the quality of bravery, courage. That's one of them. When your loving speech grants its favors, even a dumb person can compete with the preceptor of gods in literary talent. Not only this, but even an ordinary mortal attains to divine eminence. Now, here he is saying this because his guru was always there with him, his elder brother, and Jnaneshwar Maharaj has never challenged, has never had a debate, he has never talked about any scriptures. And here the incident that we have to remember, if you remember the first day of Jnaneshwari, where we told the story, he is in the court of all the Pandits, so-called the upholders of religion and scriptures, the Brahmins. They say, we are the protectors of the scriptures and the knowledge. Nobody else can, and we decide what is right and what is wrong. And there, Jnaneshwar Maharaj looks at his Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj says, start. He argues with them. Argue means puts his point forth, not argument. He puts his point forth that the Atma is common in everyone. The knowledge should be available for everyone if he is available to the knowledge. And knowledge should not be dissipated, given to people based on their birth. It should be given to those who are able to hold it. So if someone is interested, someone is seeking, we must share that knowledge. But Pandits in those times, oh, you are not a Brahmin, so we will not give you. This is the corruption that had come into the society. So he says, there, by your grace, so he's remembering that, he says, by your grace, I was able to hold my own. And then by your grace, O Guru Maharaj, when they challenged me that there is this buffalo going by the name of Veda, so if Atma is in you and Atma is in the buffalo also, is that what you're saying? He said, yes. He says, so if you know Vedas, and if we know Vedas, and our Atma then that Atma in the buffalo should also know the Vedas. This Jnaneshwar Maharaj, he says, yes, it will know. And they say, okay, the challenge that we will give you the Janevu, we will give you the honor of being a Brahmin if you make that, this is the challenge, to make that buffalo. He goes, because he's such a evolved being, he speaks something into the mouth, they say, it must be Om. The buffalo starts chanting Purusha Suktam. And after that, they all fall at his feet and they say, here, we give you. He says, I don't want it anymore. See how all this struggle was to get recognition that we are Brahmins because the father wanted it. And yet when it came to him, he says, I have gone beyond it. By getting it or not getting it, I do not become less. And from that moment onwards, the entire literary community in Maharashtra knew they were in front of a master and followed him. And all this, when someone praises you again and again, they take you on your shoulders, they take you here, they give you lot of respect, they give you reverence, people fall at your feet, people call you for bhiksha, sometimes you go to different houses, they decorate the chairs in such beautiful way and then they ask you to sit there. You feel very humbled. They put mala around your neck and it can, all this, shishtachar, all these formalities can make your ego go up. The next house you go, hey, why did you not do it? Expectation comes. Oh, every time this fellow falls at my feet, today he is not falling. There is some problem. If our mind starts thinking this way, we have lost the plot. See, our attention should not be on the world. Our attention should be on the Guru Maharaj in our heart. And this is what Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, that even that buffalo speaking and the pravachan that is coming out of my mouth, every event of my life is only because of you, O Guru Maharaj. See? One must not take any ownership. If you ask his Guru, Nivrittinath, oh, you did so. He says, no, my Guru Maharaj. See? Who was his? I think it was Gahininath or someone. See? No ownership. It's handed over. Just like it is being handed over right now. This pravachan is also handing over. So that you, and how much will be handed over? How much will be handed over?
What you are available to take.
Exactly. How much you are available to take. If you don't come in between that I am understanding, I am not understanding, if the dvandva is not going on in your head, options are not coming in your head, your attention is only on the divine, your attention is on the essence, your attention is on that power, that Guru principle within you, the essence, because of which hearing is possible, because of which understanding is possible. Attention not on the words, but attention on the essence. That is making you what you are at this moment. Not the thoughts, but the essence. Then you are 100% available. Okay? Then without listening, you are listening. Without your knowing, you are listening. This is the beauty of our masters of India. This is the beauty of the Vedas, the Gita. Who will tell you all this? A common man will tell you. The education system will tell you. Those ashrams who are after name, fame, property collection, they will tell you. Therefore, in your heart, maintain a space where you pray to the Lord. Oh Lord, please bring the right person, the right knowledge, so that my ultimate goal, which is to merge into you, is fulfilled. I don't want to get caught up in anything in this world. Not into being a sannyasi, not into being a grahastha, not into any ashram, not into any project, not into charity, not into any sadhana, not into any scriptures. All this I can be doing. But my ultimate goal is to merge into you, and that only you can make it happen for me. Isn't it? And when can that merging take place?
By the grace of.
When? Any moment. You have to become available. Depending upon the intensity of your remembrance of that divine principle, the Lord in your heart. See, how can I describe the feeble power of my speech, the glorious grace of my master? I cannot take the charge, I cannot take the ownership of the words that are coming out of my mouth. Can one besmear the body of the sun with sandalwood paste? See, now he is giving examples, and the examples are so beautiful. He says, can you put any other fragrance on the sandalwood? Sandalwood is the king of all the fragrances. Yeah? And he continues. Kehuta kalpataruvari phulaura kayaseni pahuneru shirasagara kavane vasikapura suvasu devo चंदना ते कायसेनी चर्चावे अमृता ते केऊते रांधावे गगनावरी उभवावे घडे केवी तैसे श्री गुरुचे महिमान आकळिते ते के असे साधन हे जाणो निमिया नमन निवांत केले जरी प्रज्ञेचेनी आथिलेपणे श्री गुरु सामर्थ्या रूप करू म्हणे तरी ते मोतिया भिंग देणे तैसे होईल का सांडे पंधरया रजतवणी तैशी स्तुतीची बोलणी उगियाची माथा ठेविजे चरणी हेची भले. He says that, so first example he gave, can one besmear the body of the sun with sandalwood paste? Okay, here the example he has taken is the sun. Can you put the sandalwood paste on the sun? It is not possible. Second example, with what blossoms can one embellish the wish yielding tree? Wish yielding tree, the kalpataru, kalpavruksha, kalpataru, it has its own unique, it is a mythological tree. And what is that kalpataru? Kalpataru is nothing but your mind, in which all the fruits of your actions are being are coming. So here he is saying that with what can you add into the mind? We think that we have to collect information and become intelligent, but we don't understand. Mind is already intelligent. It needs to unfold itself, and that unfoldment of the mind takes place because of the Guru Maharaj. The more the mind thinks of its essence, to that extent, this cow, another word for the mind is the Nandini cow, the wish fulfilling cow, or the Kalpavruksha. It starts unfolding. But for that, the mind must stop its pursuit of the world. No amount of running after the world, the more it runs after the world, the mind keeps getting contracting, and starts setting like a concrete. It becomes hard. It needs to melt away. Ice, again give the example. Ice has a particular surface area, but when it melts, water has a larger surface area. When even that melts or evaporates, the same H2O which was in the ice now is water, but now becomes water vapor. It has an infinite amount of surface area. So is the case of the mind. Concretized mind is body identification. Concretized mind is body identification. And the only way to come out of it is not by thinking about the body. It is by thinking about the Guru Maharaj in our heart. How can one extend hospitality to the milky ocean? With what scent can one make camphor fragrant? What can you add to camphor to make it more fragrant? It is itself its natural disposition. So what can the mind add to the divine to make it more fragrant, or to make it more palatable, or to make it more understandable? Cannot. Mind cannot do that to the self, to the Lord. All that is because it is addicted to doing. It has to come to realization that all I have to do is surrender myself to the divine. With what kind of perfume can you besmear the sandalwood tree? This is the example that I was telling you. What is the king of fragrances? What else can you add to sandalwood to make it more wonderful? What dish can you serve to nectar? See, nectar is by itself everything, isn't it? What dish can you serve to nectar? How beautiful. Yeah, imagine at Make an attempt. A 12-year-old coming up with all these examples at a spur of a moment. No preparation. Only his Guru's grace. See? With what dish can you serve the nectar? How is it possible to become higher than the sky? There is nothing else beyond the sky. Can you go beyond the sky? It is not possible. What means can you employ to gauge properly the glory of my master? Can you employ the means? Can you give him gifts to show that how great he is? Can you advertise him in the whole world and say how great? Will that make him great? In your mind? How much sacrifice you will do? How much seva will you do? Service will you do? Nothing that you can do can ever suffice. Master is self-established. The Guru principle is self-established. It doesn't require any means, isn't it? So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying that what means can I employ? What higher means? See, giving objects as presents, that is very gross. He is offering his speech. Speech is the quality of space, isn't it? It's the subtlest. He says even this is incapable of illuminating the Guru Maharaj. Because just like you cannot go higher than the sky, this speech cannot go to the Guru Maharaj. It cannot reach the Guru principle. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa. The Guru principle is that where even the speech goes and returns. I cannot find it. See? Therefore, I offer him my mute salutations. So no amount of my blabbering, so all this blabbering till this 15th verse of OV, he says all this blabbering is only, see, he is very aware. If you see the theme that is going through, he is very aware. He is absolutely in the present. He is seeing what is, he is not, what I keep saying, he is accepting everything, rejecting nothing, retaining nothing. So if these thoughts are coming, he is expressing them. But at the same time, his attention is on the essence and he is realizing that no amount of his speaking can ever do the justification to the Guru principle that is infinite in nature. He is recognizing that. And suddenly the penny drops for him and he says, the best thing I can do here, he says, therefore I offer him my mute salutations. That means I offer salutations to him, I offer prostration to him in silence. See? Because what is your quality of mind when you are silent? It is empty. Silence means mind is empty, you are awake. Isn't it? You are not sleeping. You cannot, the mind is empty, other state is mind is empty, you are sleeping. But if I can come, see, he has blah, 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 and he has come, and he's thinking as he's going along. He's thinking loudly. That can I go higher than the sky? No. Can I make the sandalwood more fragrant by some other fragrance? No. Can I put sandalwood on the sun? No. And putting, then how can I sing the glory of the Guru Maharaj? No words, no words can be enough because they are having a beginning and they are having an end. The finite words cannot sing the glory of infinite. They can sing, but they can never come to know the infinite. So he says, I offer my salutations in silence. See? You do the same thing, but you don't recognize it. When we go to the temple, we are doing exactly the same thing for a second. When we do the chanting in the morning, 1 hour of screaming away, and then we sit for 10 minutes in silence, isn't it? But this type of dialogue, this type of speech can come out of a one who is aware of the Guru Maharaj in his heart. Why it doesn't come out of our mouth? Because we are focused on the world. So the theme is always about, now what's the food after the class? That is the theme. What will be the dishes there? Swamiji, we are focusing on the topic. You are thinking about food? But see, but this is how we move around in the world. But he is focused, even while speaking, he is focused on the Guru principle within him, the Sadguru within him. Then he says, I offer him my mute salutations. Any attempt on the strength of intellect to describe the glorious power of the Master is like giving gloss to the pearl. Any words of praise to him is like silver plating the gold. I therefore think it best to prostrate myself at the feet of my Master in great humility. How nicely he has put it. You can feel the bhav. Yeah? Bhav, there is no word for bhav in English. I'm using two words, feel and bhav. The closest that I can say to bhav is feel. But feeling is not it. See? This should be our disposition. With great faith, with great humility, with great gratitude, ever remembering, ever standing under the shower of the Sadguru. Ever. It should bring joy, it should bring tears, it should bring pain, it should bring horripulations. You must come alive. The moment, every moment of your existence. And that aliveness, that inspiration is only possible from the source. But for that, you have to, your mind must, without any dialogue, contemplate, be with the source. It is not possible 24 hours a day, because nature is never in a straight line. Everything in nature is going up and down, up and down. So the moment it goes up means speech has started. It go down means speech has withdrawn. Then again speech will start. So when it is expressing itself, when it is withdrawing itself, let it express itself the way the Vedas express. Because this is the speech. If the word thoughts have to come in our mind, let them come. Om Sahasra Shoirasha Purusha. That's why the students in the Yor, they used to, their memories, their subconscious impressions were those of the Vedas. It was not of what I have to get, how much money I have to come, who owes me. All this was not there. So you know, you have a little bit of glimpse whenever you go after some chanting or some puja or some avartana. That keeps going on in your head for some time, isn't it? Like if you go from this satsang after some time, when you are in your own, suddenly some words will play in your mind. It will automatic replay happens. Some parts, whichever made an impact on your mind, you intensely interacted with it. So imagine all the time, the moment, because life is ups and downs, means the mind is also going through expression, non-expression, expression, non-expression. So when it is expressing, it's expressing the Vedic way. When it is not expressing, it is silent. Not depressed, silent, not sleeping, but silent and awake. Beautiful, no? But that is possible when we are not just merely like a parrot chanting the Vedas, we are subjective about it. What that speech here, so many words were used. We are on the 15th verse. So many words are used, but where is the focus of Jnaneshwar Maharaj? The Guru Maharaj in his heart, the Guru Maharaj who is sitting next to him. In North India, even in till Maharashtra, some places the student sits down, but if someone is giving pravachan and all, and if someone Mahatma comes from somewhere or go, he doesn't sit down. He will come and sit. They keep a seat on the stage next to the Vyaspit. There the Guru Maharaj comes and sits. He doesn't sit below the student. So he says it's best to prostrate myself at the feet of my master in great humility. People speak about humility, but there is no humility. But in Jnaneshwar Maharaj, we can see the feeling that is emanating out of him. Even in the commentary that is there, the words as we are deciphering, it shows his disposition, isn't it? Continuing. मग मणितले जी स्वामी भलेनी ममत्वे देखिले तुम्ही म्हणवनी कृष्णार्जुन संगमी प्रयागवटू जाहलो मागा दुरोधदे म्हणतलियासाठी आघविया क्षीराब्धीची करुणी पाटी उपमन्यू पुढे धुर्जटी ठेविली जैसी ना तरी वैकुंठ पीठ नायके रुसला ध्रुव कवतिके बुझाविला देऊनी भातुके ध्रुवपदाचे तैसी जे ब्रह्मविद्या रावो सकळ शास्त्रांचा विसंगता ठावो ते भगवद्गीता वोविये गावो ऐसे केले जे बोलणियाचे राणी हिंडता नायकी जे फळलिया अक्षराची वार्ता परिते वाचाची केली कल्पलता विवेकाची. He says, Sant Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, continuing to that, following up from what he's offered his prostrations at the teacher, he says, "O my master, since you blessed me with your graceful glance out of affection for me, I have become the holy banyan tree at the confluence of rivers in Prayag in the form of the conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna." Huh? So, what is this Yamuna, Ganga and Yamuna confluence? Many different ways you can say. It is the line between the yin and yang where the two are meeting. It is the Ida and Pingla. So, Ida is the Ganga, Pingla is the Yamuna. Where they meet? They meet at the Agya Chakra. There are many places they meet. They meet at the heart also. But ultimately, they meet at the Agya Chakra and together they go and merge into the divine, to the Sahasrara. So the dialogue was going on between Krishna and Arjuna. Are they here? No. Gangaji is the, she is the Jnana Rupini. She is of the nature of knowledge. And Yamuna is Karma Rupini. She is of the nature of action. So here Krishna is taken as the giver of knowledge and Arjuna, he is the action man. He is the warrior. There the discourse is going on, isn't it? And where does he find himself? Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, I find myself at the where they both are meeting. How they are meeting? Through speech. Speech of the Lord. And he is available, isn't it? And suddenly we have come in between. We are deciphering those words of Gita for ourselves as well as for others. And in that what happens? In that discourse what happens? Lives change. Lives change. Till now I have not come across any person who has heard or listened to Gita and not little bit even not, improvement has not come. Change has not come. It will change. So here he says that I have become the holy banyan tree at the confluence of rivers in Prayag in the form of the conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Now he gives again some examples. What is that? When Upamanyu begged for milk of yore, Lord Shankara placed the cup of milky ocean in front of him to drink. Upamanyu is one of the sons of one of the no, he is the Upamanyu किसका बेटा था?
कौन?
Upamanyu.
एक ऋषि का बेटा था.
वही some sage's son.
नहीं याद.
So he is the devotee of Lord Shiva. Shiva gives him not a cup of milk, he gives him the milky ocean, he offers him. Then the next example he takes, Lord Shankara placed the cup of milky ocean before him, or when the boy Dhruva was sulking because of the ill treatment of his stepmother, the Lord of Vaikuntha humored him by giving him a lollipop in the form of a firm seat at the North Pole, the Dhruvatara. So he gave him a permanent position. He says, you sit on my lap. And then, so my master has bestowed upon me the power to explain in verses the Bhagavad Gita, which is the most excellent text among the Brahman lores and the resting place for all scriptures. What is Bhagavad Gita called? It is the essence of all the Upanishads. Upanishads are compositions coming in the Vedas, in the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sam and Atharva. These are certain compositions which without any ambiguity indicate the truth. There is no God in between. They give you the technique, they give you the contemplation, and do this and you will reach there. Some of the Upanishads are Ishavasya Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad. Like this, there are many Upanishads. Adi Shankaracharya ji has given the commentary for the main 11 Upanishads, but he has talked about 108. And there may be many more also. See? So imagine the essence of those scriptures which are directly talking about the truth without any beating around the bush. Bhagavad Gita is the nectar of all that has been sucked into this Bhagavad Gita. And presented to us in the song form, in a poetry. So beautiful to hear. So my master has, when I was roaming in the forest of words, not a single meaningful word had fallen on my ears, but my speech blossomed into the creeper of marvelous thoughts because of your grace. When you try to explain words, verses of the Gita, you will struggle. You will start sweating after some time because you are trying to go back into your memory. You are going, and memory is for whom? For the ego, for the individual. So his attention is on his ability, on his capacity to remember what he has studied. Right? He must study also. No doubt. But when you have to speak about it, that time, let the complete surrender must be there. It must be seen as that these words are just the pointers and the expression, the unfoldment of those words that happens is happening by His grace, not because of our ability, not because of our acumen, not because of our preparation. Preparation is necessary, but the outpouring is not because of our ability. It is by the grace. And then remember this also, that even that preparation was His grace also. No, I will prepare and let the grace. You have to remember grace all the time. Then, होती देह बुद्धि एक सरी ते आनंद भांडारा केली बोवरी मन गीतार्थ सागरी जडशयन झाले ऐसे एक एक देवांचे करणे ते अपार बोलो केवी मी जाणे तरीही अनुवाद लो धीटपणे ते उपसाही जोजी आता आपुलेनी कृपा प्रसादे म्या भगवद्गीता बोंबी प्रबंधे पूर्वखंड विनोदे वाखाळिले प्रथमी अर्जुनाचा विषादू दुझी बोलिला योगू विषदू. Stop. So here till 23rd verse, Ovi, he's outpouring of his disposition that everything is because of my Guru Maharaj that is taking place. Here he says, because of it, my intelligence, which had not transcended the consciousness of the body, became the treasure house of divine bliss. Because of whom? Because of the Guru Maharaj. See, mind has, just like you have in Sydney, you have got one ways. In our Springvale Road, it is two ways. You can go this way also and you can go that way also. Isn't it? This Gels Road also is both ways. There is no demarcation line, only one line, but there is no island in between. Similarly, the mind is also a two-way street. One way is towards the world and the other way is towards the divine, towards the Guru Maharaj. Choice is given to us. What do we think of? Do we become a solid stone, concretized stone, caught up, and that stone is the body, by thinking about the world and thinking about the body? Or do we come out of this gravity of tamas by putting the effort, by surrendering the mind, by thinking about through the thoughts of what that essence is? So these two choices, at every moment of our existence, these two choices are there for us. Either we think about the ignorance which is other than the Guru Maharaj, the self, or we think of the self. Every moment. And the solution is only when every thought is thinking about the self. Oh, but how people, like foolish people, they ask this question. But if all my thoughts are thinking about the self, then how will I function in this world? Don't you think about your child while doing all the other work? Don't you? You don't feel that time that the thinking about your child is a disturbance in your cooking or cleaning or reading or whatever you are doing. In the background it is going on. That, oh, she will come at this time, she will come now, why has she not come? And you are doing your job, other thing. Exactly the same way. He says that became the treasure house of, because of your grace, I have got weaned out of this body identification and become focused on the divine, and because of that, all this happened because of you, O Guru Maharaj. Who is this Guru Maharaj? His teacher. Krishna has done the same thing to Arjuna. It is because of the words of the Guru Krishna, the mind of the Arjuna, which was in depression, it was in identity crisis, it was despondent, it raised slowly, it started blossoming. And it transcended. And there was clarity. See? So what company we seek? Which people do we enjoy the company which gossips, or we enjoy the company like that person I told you, even in a party with all zing bang hundreds of people, but he is with the bliss within him. He is enjoying the silence within. He is so inspired that the silence is so deep and penetrating that he is recognizing that his mind is not getting disturbed, it is not reacting to anyone, including wife, including those people who are making nasty comments that, oh, you are you are different and you are all this. They're trying to take the mickey out of him, but no disturbance. How beautiful disposition. My mind has now become a temple in the milky ocean in the form of the Gita doctrines. Aha. So now my mind is the only theme that is going on. So what is the mind? If we say in the ocean there are waters, in the mind ocean what are there?
Thoughts.
No, consciousness. Consciousness. Mind is essentially consciousness. In that, the thought waves are appearing. And what are the thought waves in Jnaneshwar Maharaj's mind? The words of the Gita. Those are the thoughts that are coming. Not about the world, but the thoughts of the Gita, the words of the Gita, the wisdom of the Gita. All this he is recognizing that it is due to my Guru Maharaj. So are we at this point in ourselves where we can say that every thought that is appearing in my mind is an expression of the divine? It's coming out of, just like when we see outside, a wave is coming out of the water and going back into the water. Can we say to ourselves, yes, it is my experience that every thought that is coming out of the ocean of consciousness and merging back into the ocean of consciousness? है ना मजेदार? Because that is the truth. The crease is appearing out of the cloth, and when I iron it, the crease will go back into the cloth. Don't give value to illusion. Give value to the essence. So what is the essence of the crease? The cloth. What is the essence of the mind? The consciousness, the divinity. So don't give too much, don't talk about incompleteness, don't talk about ignorance, don't talk about mithya, don't talk about projection. Instead, focus on the divine without coming to a conclusion and let it reveal, let it reveal, let it reveal. It's a revelation. It's a blessing, it's a grace, which is always, but it becomes immediate when you put attention without coming to a conclusion. This is the incomprehensible, see how beautifully he is saying. He says, this is the incomprehensible deed of my master. With what words can I describe his infinite power? I seek his forgiveness for daring to sing his glory with inadequate words. Words can never reach the truth, the essence, the infinite consciousness. And yet, when we give a discourse, when we talk about it, we discuss, we have to use words. Words can never reach it, yet we are using it. So the Guru Maharaj is he who knows he is the ultimate. He knows The student is also ultimate. He knows the words cannot take one to the reality. Yet he employs the medium of words to communicate so that that student, that disciple can raise himself. And that raising of the mind to make it lighter and lighter and lighter, the more lighter it becomes, things start floating, isn't it? The more you heavier a thing, when you are carrying the burden of knowledge, you will be on the ground. When you are light, when there is lightness of being, there is sparkle in the eye, there is spring in the step, there is smile on the face. See? But all that is possible. Teacher is always ready. Krishna is always ready. Any Guru Maharaj is always ready. But is the student available? So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is creating a background, he is creating a condition that make your mind like that. If you want Krishna's words to percolate into your heart and mind and bring about a shift, then have the disposition like I am having. See? Just last few, give me 5 minutes. तेची षष्टा, no, where are we? 23rd. प्रथमी अर्जुनाचा विषादू, दुजी बोलिला योगु विषदू, परी सांख्य बुद्धीसी भेदू, धावनिया, तिजी केवळ कर्म प्रतिष्ठिले, तेची चतुर्थी ज्ञानेशी प्रगटिले, पंचमे गहुवरिले योगतत्व, तेची षष्टा माझी प्रकट, आसना लागोनी स्पष्ट, जीवात्म भाव एकवट, होती जेणे, तैसी जे योग स्थिती आणि योग भ्रष्टा जे गती, ते आघवीची उपपत्ती सांगितली षष्टी, तयावरी सप्तमी प्रकृती परिहार उपक्रमी, करुनी भजती ते पुरुषोत्तमी, ते बोलिले चारही, पाठी सप्त प्रश्न विधी, बोलोनी प्रयाण समय सिद्धि, एवं सकळ वाक्यावधी, अष्टमाध्यायी, मग शब्द ब्रह्मी असंख्याके, जे तुला काही अभिप्राय पिके, ते तुला महाभारते एके, लक्षे जोडे, तिये आघवाची जे महाभारती, ते लाभे कृष्णार्जुना वाचोक्ती, आणि जो अभिप्रावो सातेशती, तो एकलाची नवमी. Oh, this is quite a bit. Okay. So, we'll stop here. So with this, now what he's going to, where we stopped on the 23rd verse, after that he is giving you a precis of all the 9 chapters in one line. First chapter was about this, second chapter about this, third chapter about this, fourth chapter about this, because he has reached the middle of the Bhagavad Gita. So if the Bhagavad Gita can be divided into 2, it's 9 chapters in the beginning and 9 chapters in the second part. So he's just like we had done a recapping of 7th, 8th, 9th, he is doing a recapping in one line, one word, what each chapter was all about. And then invoking the grace of his Guru Maharaj, he is going to jump into the 10th chapter, always accepting his inadequacy to do justice to the theme that is being presented. Because only by his surrender to the divine or the Guru Maharaj, by their grace, the quality of the speech will express itself. He is very clear about it. So should we. So with this, we'll conclude here with a commitment that when we are listening to Bhagavad Gita and interacting with the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, we are having this type of disposition. Our attention is on the truth. It is subjective. Don't take words for their meanings. They are indicating something else. which is beyond what the word is. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.